Still, not sponsored by Duncan. It's the Woodworking Morning Show.
Alrighty, Rudy.
Hi.
What's up, everybody? It's not the morning show, it's TWW Live. I'm Mark.
And I'm Nicole.
Today we're going to answer a whole bunch of... We're really excited today.
Hello.
How you doing? We're going to answer some woodworking questions. I've got some pre-selected. Nicole's going to grab them live from the chat room. So ask away. Pretty much, I won't say everybody, but we try to get to as many of the questions as possible. And we want to thank some people who helped us out by supporting the show.
Yeah.
That would be Bill Vaughn, Sebastian Marchand, Forge 2008, and Stephen Hansen. So thank you so much. Now, if you want to help support us, very easy to do. Number one, watch the show.
Yay!
Number
That's
two,
easy. You're here.
Click a thumb up.
For
right?
15 minutes or so.
Yeah, for about 15 minutes. That's all people want to see. Click that thumb up thing. You know, number three, if you want to go the extra mile, you can actually send a few bucks our way. That helps us keep this business running. That's at the WoodWhisperer. Nope.
I don't know.
Patreon.com/WoodWhisperer. But also right here on YouTube, you can use the membership feature.
Yep.
And we have two very low costs. It's just a couple of bucks. And we also do an after show. When the show is done, what is that for the $5 and higher supporters?
You get more of this. No, $2 and up.
$2. I don't know how this business works at all. Nicole does. So, but we of course appreciate everybody. However you would choose to support us, we appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for hanging out with us and tolerating us for a little under an hour.
It's finally the weather has broke here in Denver.
So has my spirit.
Yeah.
After the last few 100-degree days.
It's pretty hot. It's like everybody in Denver's going,
yeah,
what
the heck is this? We want to remind you real quick. Remember these things? Remember those mugs? The fuel mug? TWWstore.com. You could still get your pre-order in if you're interested in picking up one of those. It's until what, the 20th?
Yeah, so that's Sunday. It's Father's Day.
Yep, so it ends on Father's Day.
So if you pre-ordered it's not going to be there for Father's Day. I apologize. But yeah.
Yeah, so go check it out, TWWstore.com. Great little mug. I actually have been using the one, it says Comcast on it, the sample that they sent us. So I've been sporting some Comcast swag.
It's a nice mug.
Yeah, it really
is. We should probably just put a TWW sticker on it.
Yeah.
But you can get it at the store too. Well, actually, not right now.
Not at the moment, yeah.
Not at the moment.
If you're wondering, if you've been to the store and you're looking to purchase like a physical product,
like
you'll
templates.
notice they're all gone.
Yeah.
It's not that they're gone. My mom is out of town, and it's very difficult for us to process orders when she's not here. Temporarily, I have made everything unavailable, so it's all digital stuff right now. But we'll be back probably
Thursday.
Late next week. Yeah, Thursday. Yeah. We'll have everything back.
Gary Badger is in the chat. It's been a while, Gary. He said, I made it to a live show. Love you guys from Plano, Texas.
Nice.
I hope your thermostat is not being taken over right now in Plano, Texas.
Yeah, did you hear about that?
Yeah,
the thermostats in Texas? It's a whole thing. Protect Your Digits says, how are your children? God bless them. Well, they are in the house.
I've gotten to the point with
she's
Mateo.
It's a new experiment.
That I'm offering him babysitting money to watch his sister.
Yeah.
So he's like, so how much am I going to get? I'm like, $10 for an hour. Hey.
Well, what usually happens is in the middle of this show, if we don't have my mom to watch the kids, within 5 minutes, Ava is at the door. And it's like, this is a professional show, Ava. What are you doing to us? You're making us look bad.
Anna in the chat says, I love Ashley Harwood's videos. It's very cool of you to wear her shirt.
Oh,
she's a guild member.
Well, a guild instructor.
Guild instructor, that's what I meant. A guild instructor.
Not just a member, she's also a client. Ashley makes great stuff. She's an incredible instructor. I support her wholeheartedly.
Yay.
In fact, I think we're kind of overdue to do another project with Ashley.
Speaking of the guild,
yeah,
we got a gift from our editor Todd, who was in
Can I see it?
Texas with Philip Morley.
Yep.
Filming the Morley Barstool chair.
Right.
Which hasn't been added to pre-order yet. We're still in the process of getting that project.
We're a little behind. We'll get on it soon. We'll have like a bunch of new. There's already 4 projects on deck and a 5th one in the making. I'm going to be going to Mike Farrington's shop to film some Kumiko. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So thank you for this, Todd.
Todd, that was
Really
really,
appreciate
really nice. It looks like a tree trunk. It was a tree trunk, I'm sure. It's petrified wood. I got a little story about petrified wood. I'll tell it in the after show. Doesn't really.
I look forward to it.
Doesn't really apply.
It already sounds good.
I was a wee
All right.
child.
So let's get to a little feature here.
Yep.
You guys know that MLCS,
Yay.
good friends of ours.
Yep.
By friends, that means that they pay us some money once in a while.
They've been working
Truth.
with us
It's the truth.
before MLCS. They have Eagle America.
Well, we were working with Eagle America.
Yeah.
Then MLCS either they bought Eagle America or merged.
Yeah, I
don't know how that
I
stuff
think they
works.
bought it. Yeah.
And now we work with MLCS. Great people over there. Great
Hi, Mitch.
products. If you have a chance, go to their website. I don't think they may not get the word out enough about this, about how much stuff they have for sale. Just general woodworking stuff. You know, kind of on, like when you think of a woodworking store, we think of Woodcraft, Rockler. When you go to MLCS's website, you're going to see a lot of stuff that you might not have expected to be there.
Yeah.
So go there, definitely check that out. There is one product that I want to, well, I've talked about this in the past. You guys have probably seen this in the past, some of you at least, and I'm going to show it to you again. Watch this.
It's a Mark favorite.
Boom. This is one of my favorite MLCS products. It is the Merril Clamp, named after Mitch's mother, if I'm not mistaken. So it basically, when all folded up and compact, it kind of looks like this, but you can see what the whole point of it is.
Not a real picture frame.
You like that?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
So the idea is you've got these corner clamps.
Yeah.
You've probably seen band clamp versions of this and some with fabric straps around the outside. What I love about this is this stuff.
Yeah.
Metal strapping.
Yeah.
That means this thing is incredibly strong. You could probably break a frame if you put enough pressure on this. So you kind of get it all tightened up. You turn this little screw here, and that just applies pressure slowly but surely. And it is one of my favorite, like anytime I do some kind of a mitered hoochie,
The
I'm
picture
gonna
frame,
use this.
the picture frame you did for my mom for Christmas, you used this.
Yep.
The picture frame, picture frames is a big, a big one.
yeah, I mean, you could do like segmented turnings
Yeah.
with it. I've used it for that.
What if you have more than 4 corners?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Nicole. You can even buy extra ones of the heads.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you can add more heads. So if you have, you know, a 5-sided circle. You guys can't see me, but I'm looking straight at Nicole and I'm trying to talk nonsense. But seriously, if you have more corners than 4, you could buy extra heads and plop those on there, take them on and off as needed, and you can get insane clamping pressure with this thing. So I cannot give this enough praise. If you are putting together segmented turnings, you're putting together picture frames, and you've ever needed that sort of corner pressure like this, it's hard to do better than this.
Yeah.
It's an absolute dream to use. And I think sometimes on their website, they have like a 2-for deal, you know, where you can get a pair of them.
Yeah, they usually do. You can also find them on Amazon. So they recently moved stores. They actually moved their
physical location.
The physical location to a new location. And it came up in my feed. I'm like, man, we thought moving a shop was hard. Could you imagine moving an entire store?
Oh, no thanks.
So they've been really busy setting up their new location. So where are they? I'm blanking on Ohio, right?
I don't remember where anyone is. I don't even know where Matt lives. No idea.
I'm pretty sure it's Ohio.
Okay, so I just wanted to let you guys know about that. Nicole will have links to the products and whatnot.
I've put up some links.
Should we do some questions?
Hey, let's do some questions.
All right. So
We got a lot of these questions from the Patreon post that I put up and the YouTube post if you're at the $5 and higher level.
So I don't know what happened here, but I don't see who left the question.
I did put a... You must have deleted it.
Maybe, but the person is asking about the Kreg thing. See if you can find out who it is while we're doing this. Okay, question is this. I've been shopping around and doing research, but I would like your opinion. Should I still get a table saw if I were to get a Kreg ACS? So, of course, I had to look up what the Kreg ACS is, and I'm going to show you a picture. It's this thing. It's I should have written down what that ACS stands for, but if you look it up, you're going to see. It's obvious when you see it.
Pennsylvania. MLCS is in
Pennsylvania. So you're worried about Pennsylvania when you should be looking up who asked this question.
No, I saw Rick St. Louis say.
This looks a lot like the MFT to me. You've got that like dog hole pattern in there. Lots of little doodads. Looks like they even have some kind of like T-track in the middle of the table. This actually looks more functional than an MFT, a Festool MFT. So this is a very interesting thing. But I do think it's going to suffer from some of the same limitations that you have and that I've confronted with the MFT. Now, if I had a very, very small shop and I didn't even have room for a table saw and someone gave me a fully functional MFT or something like this Kreg ACS, I'd be pretty stoked about it. If I have the room for a table saw though, there are just some things that are going to be harder to do on that ACS system. Mainly if you're dealing a lot with solid lumber. Now, if you're doing a lot of sheet good work, something like that's going to be absolutely brilliant. There's probably nothing it can't do. But I think once you start to do things with solid wood, you start to hit some of those limitations. So if you're in the market for something like this, even if you get a table saw later, I actually still think, it's probably a good buy for now if you're interested in it. Doing plywood projects, or it's going to make it a whole lot nicer. See what you think, over time. If you feel like you need to add the table saw or you hit one of those limitations, then you have your own answer.
What was the question again? Because I can't find it anywhere.
He's asking about the Kreg ACS.
Oh.
So I don't know what the person's name was.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm blaming him. All right. The address for MLCS was right there, Huntington Valley.
PO Box. Okay, great to know.
Huntington Valley.
If you're in the area, go see them. We've never seen their showroom.
No.
Okay, Ben Price wrote in. Oh, why is my stream quality lowered? What are the kids doing in there? Jeez.
I'm not sure.
I mean, I got the wire, everything.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, all right.
Ben Price says, I recently received money from my grandfather to buy some tools. I want to buy something that I can hand down to my. Should I wait?
No, you can because I'm live on it and it's back.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. You guys know how this
Refresh
stuff
your
works.
browser anytime it freezes.
Internet gremlins. What are you going to do? All right. So, low angle jack. As the name implies, a jack plane is like a jack of all trades. You could do some smoothing with this. You could do some edge jointing. You've got a nice long sole on there, so you can actually get some jointing operations done. You can hog away material too if you really need to get down to a certain thickness. So a really versatile plane. It's like right there in the middle of the different size planes. And if you get the low angle version, you could play with the blade itself with different bevel angles, and you can get different behaviors out of the tool that way. So that's a big one for me. Now in the book, I recommend the rabbiting block plane. If you don't already have a block plane, that's a good choice because with a rabbiting block plane, you've got a blade that comes all the way out to the edge here. So you can actually do things like trimming tenons and smoothing, things like that. And it also works like a regular block plane. So something in this family of a smaller handheld plane like this, that just becomes super useful. This is a router plane specifically to Veritas router plane. They've got a great selection of cutters in here. So think about making a dado, and you want to make sure that dado has a flat bottom. I have made dados in plywood that you would think that it'd be perfect, right? I made it on power tools. Well, plywood is never really totally flat, and sometimes it lifts as you cut it, so that dado is not a consistent depth all the way down the line, and a router plane
I'm going to stop you right
fixes that.
Because I don't know what's going on.
I don't know either.
Because it just kind of is sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
Even on my side.
YouTube's just letting us down, huh?
Yeah. I don't think it's the Wi-Fi because we're in a hard connection.
Yeah, we're not on Wi-Fi. Let's give it a couple of seconds. I'll do a bandwidth test just to see what the heck is going on here.
It's like going up and down, up and down.
Oh, that's the fun of the internet.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
And sometimes it's a YouTube.
It has been known to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Lisa.
We'll get, if anyone just came here, we're just trying to fix the internet.
Yeah. Rick said that MLCS moved to Southampton, PA. Oh, well, then it had the P.O. box is still in Huntington Valley then.
Guys, we got like...
Oh yeah, they're Southampton, PA.
We got 900 down and 24 up. That is plenty for us to do a broadcast.
I blame the YouTube.
That also is a test that was done while we are currently broadcasting. Yeah. So as far as things that I can check on my end, I am out of ideas. I don't know what else to do. Yeah. Is it totally just frozen right now?
I have a feeling it's just recording, so let's just push forward.
I will continue to talk to myself. This will be like any other day in my shop. Okay, so we just talked about the router plane, right? So incredibly versatile. You can also use this to trim tenons, right? And I've got a couple tricks in the book that you could see for techniques on how to do cool stuff with that. That's a shoulder plane. This is great for trimming tenons. So if you have a tenon that was cut on a table saw, for instance, and you want to just kind of clean up that rough edge or maybe size it a little bit to make it absolutely perfect for your mortise, the shoulder plane is fantastic for that. And of course, you can also do the shoulders, the small shoulders around the tenon. This is a great tool for that as well. And if you want to get into curved work, you're going to want to look into something like a spoke shave. Okay, so basically just think of this as a very small plane, and you have a couple different versions of them. This one happens to be curved on the bottom here, so this would be for something like inside curves, right? They also make a flat one, and they make a concave version. Couple different versions that you can find for specialty stuff. But for me, this is the one that I usually reach for if I'm going to reach for such a thing. So the thing is with these tools, this may not be the same list of tools if you asked Shannon Rogers, for instance. My buddy Shannon is a dedicated hand tool user, so he's doing all of his milling and all these other operations earlier in the process. For me, when someone asks me for the hybrid woodworker, someone who is doing the bulk of the crappy work with power tools and then just finessing with hand tools, that's when we go to those tools, because a lot of them are focused on joinery, they're focused on finessing things, not so focused on like material removal. So that is what I would consider like, I have a video on this in the guild actually as a guild meeting, top 5 planes.
Why did you change my page?
That was my page, and I have every right to change my page. Okay, so how are we doing on the stream? Can anyone even hear me?
Yep.
Am I talking to myself now?
So Tommaso, I was going to tell you, Tommaso asked who won the Merca Sander. I had it up displaying who won.
The reason I took it down?
Yeah.
Because I got tired of people giving me crap about us not being able to do an international giveaway.
But that giveaway had ended, so it didn't matter.
And it still says right on there, US only, and people are still bent out of shape about it to come back and leave a comment, even though the things, they're not eligible because it's closed.
Tommaso, his name was Kevin.
Kevin.
We have to send, did you sign it yet?
It's over there.
Okay, I still need to sign it. So Kevin, it's on its way.
And just in case anyone is wondering what we're talking about, international giveaways are very difficult to do, if not impossible to do, without putting ourselves in liability hell.
Yep.
Every country has very specific rules for how to conduct a sweepstakes, and then within that country there might be individual, just like in the US, there's different states that have rules that you have to follow.
Preaching to the choir.
It's impossible for us to actually
Hey, I got a
do
question from B. Looking to pursue woodworking as a new hobby.
Oh yeah.
Where should I look for one-on-one DIY instruction, and what materials would you recommend for someone who has little garage space? Are you talking like in-person one-on-one? Oh.
Well, woodworking schools.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're really, and I don't think it's going to be one-on-one though. If you have an unlimited budget, I am sure you could convince some excellent woodworking instructors to work with you one-on-one.
You used to do, when you first started, you used to do one-on-one classes.
Yeah, private classes.
So see if you have a local woodworking guild, like they actually meet at like a Rockler or Woodcraft. There usually could be some woodworkers in that group.
Yeah, who are willing to like mentor you.
That would do one-on-one instruction, because that's what Mark did when he first started out in Arizona. Yeah. I remember there was a girl that came out and you did one-on-one with her.
She was really nice, but my God, she scared the crap out of me. She was the smallest, daintiest little lady, had a couple of kids, and she wanted to build a massive bunk bed. Like
yes,
bunk
that's
bed
right,
with
that's right.
with a desk underneath it.
Yep.
The problem was, and this is not even remotely meant to be sexist, it's simply the observation, she could not hold the tool.
Right.
And we've had people write in, maybe it was Wood Talk, we've had female listeners write in and say that the problem is I have lady hands, and there are just some tools that are clearly not made for both sexes, or for even smaller guys who just don't have
a small man's wetsuit.
Small man's wetsuit. Some people have Cremona hands and they have trouble gripping things.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I mean, think about the weight of a circular saw. And if you're very slight and don't have, enough muscle, moving that thing across a piece of plywood, because you guys know how it is. You have to control the tool, or the tool is going to control you.
Yeah.
Right? So if I see someone who just kind of looks shaky and she doesn't look like she's got control, it was scary. And she really wanted this thing built. So it was one of those things where I just did my best to teach as much as I could, but also get this project moving so she can get what she needed.
I remember the father and son that came out and you built
that was great. Yeah.
a wagon with them.
That was super fun.
Trying to think, there was a few, and the guy that came out to do turning.
Yep.
So yeah, check out your local guild, like your closest city, and then woodworker guild.
Yeah.
And reach out to them and ask them if there's anybody in their guild that does one-on-one type classes. Materials.
Well, I don't know. I don't understand the question exactly. I mean, all the materials, regardless of your shop size, are the same. What you need to learn to do is to break things down maybe before they get to your shop. So you get a full sheet of plywood, but break it down in your driveway and take the material in smaller sizes. It's really about all you can do. Scott Morris says, as an alternative for an international giveaway, if you win, it costs $1. Put it online to order it. Well, then that actually gets us in worse hot water, Scott, because now it becomes a lottery.
Yeah, lottery.
And lotteries are even worse. Yeah. So that unfortunately is not an option.
There's a nice super chat from Jeremy Long.
Jeremy Long. Hey, y'all. Mark, looking for top tier chisels. What's your opinion on crank neck chisels versus beveled edge for paring? Well, crank neck, I've never used one. I don't have one.
What's a crank neck? I was thinking
Well, think about a crank. What's a crank?
I was thinking the little.
But what's the shape of a crank? Right?
Yeah.
So that's what happens. You got the chisel down here, and then the
drill.
It goes this way, up, and then the handle's up here.
Okay.
So, it's good for paring, things like that. So, your hands end up higher, but the blade is lower. So when you're pairing with a standard chisel, you really have to get down on a level with it. But the whole point is to say that I've never used a crank neck chisel. I don't really have a desire to have them. I do most of my pairing with bench chisels, so hopefully that kind of answers your question.
Follow up for B, he wants to know, or she wants to know, what you would suggest it rates for one-on-one. I can't tell you that. It's going to vary.
It'll vary. It
greatly.
Depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
You might find someone, if you go the local woodworker group route, you might find someone who does it just for the pure love of sharing the information. But then you also, let's say you ask a David Marks for a private class, it's not going to be super cheap.
No.
Right? So it depends
that one-on-one is...
It definitely depends on who you talk to. I got in one-on-one with David as I was probably his first private student. And they weren't even offering the classes. No. Nicole was like, I want to give my husband a great experience. How much to get one-on-one time with David Marks? It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think it was, and that was back in
even
2000,
back then,
2005.
A number that's in my head is $700.
Oh, it might have been $700 for a day.
So I don't know what David charges now.
I'm sure it's more.
But it's probably more than $700.
It should be more. Do you see 4D Ranch?
Yep, I do.
Yeah, oh, that's nice. It's a little guy, Zine.
Pear character looking at himself in the mirror saying, "Thanks for being you," with hearts popping out of his eyes. I get the description.
That's what it looks like.
I thought that's what they typed.
No.
Oh, well, that's cute. I love that
Thank
description.
Thank you, 4D Ranch.
Thank you so much. Check this out. Anna says, "I'm fortunate to be a lady with man hands." And I think if she combined with Matt, it would be like a superhuman. Because he's a man with lady hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that is an advantage, if you got bigger hands.
I have a weird thing now with my left hand because I had a herniated disc in my neck that affected my whole left side. I didn't tell you this. I went to make coffee and just dropped the coffee because my hand is so weak.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah. Stay away from the left hand.
Okay, Robert Price wrote in. He says, "I'm planning to build a walnut top for a dining table. Originally, I was planning to use aqua coat to fill the pores before putting on the finish. Since then, I've decided to use Rubio, and I'm not sure that they'll play well together. What's your recommendation for getting smooth walnut with Rubio? Or is the process that you've been demonstrating, the white pad for buffing, enough for the desired result? I've seen folks leave sanding dust that makes a slurry with the red pad first. Just wanting your vaunted opinion." That's actually a first for me. I didn't know what that meant. I had to Google it.
Really?
Have you ever heard of vaunted?
Vaunted? No.
I think it means like well-respected opinion.
Well, there you go.
Okay, since you have shown putting Rubio on walnut, but I can't remember you commenting on the pores being filled or not. Okay, so I don't fill the pores. When I do something like Rubio, it's such a matte finish, such a natural sort of finish, that I just don't see a need to fill the pores. Now, if you really need that, and for whatever reason you either like it or you just want that, yeah, you're going to have a little bit of work to do. Now, I think, first of all, let's just talk about pore filling. I want to show you guys. This is a picture that I stole from popularwoodworking.com, and I will, in the show notes, I'll be putting a link to this article just so that you can go read it. It is about pore filling. On the left, you have a piece that's been finished with a glossy finish, and the pores were not filled. I think that looks like crap.
Which one?
The one on the left.
Yes.
So generally speaking, that's when pores really bite you in the butt, is when you put a gloss finish on them.
It looks pitted.
Exactly. Those are just the open pores that haven't been filled. On the right is a pore-filled version of the same thing. So that's what we're talking about. It's a very different look, but that difference is not as noticeable with a matte or satin finish. It's really just when you go to gloss. But in this case, we've got, who was it again? Ben? Robert? Robert wants it to be, that smooth look, even though it's a matte satin finish. So with Rubio, you don't really want to do anything to the surface before the Rubio hits it. Rubio wants raw wood. If you do any kind of pore filler, aqua coat, whatever it is, I don't know that that's going to play well with Rubio. I think you're right to be apprehensive about that. I think if I were really determined to get the smoothest, most pore-filled surface possible and using Rubio, I would do the wet sanding with the Rubio. So get yourself, 220 grit on a sanding pad, put some Rubio down, and it's oil, right? So just give it a good rub back and forth. That will create that sawdust oil slurry, and then wipe off the excess. And yeah, the thing is, at that point, you start, if you try to buff it out, and the key with Rubio is you got to really remove all of it from the surface. So I'm afraid that everything you do to completely buff it off the surface might also pull the sawdust mixture out of those pores. But I think it would be better than doing nothing at all, right? So maybe give that a shot, test it on scrap, see if it works. But when it comes to Rubio, it's a tough call because Rubio wants bare wood.
So I had a feeling that 4D Ranch, who did the super chat, had a YouTube channel, and I'm on his channel right now. I want to be friends with you. He has a lake, and they're going fishing. And,
Lake, fork,
oh my gosh.
bass fishing.
Look
Nice.
at that. It's awesome.
I want to go to the 4D
40
Ranch.
acres. Live on 40 acres.
Dang, that's
Yep.
great.
Oh,
Okay.
that's cool.
Black Goat Woodworking. What companies do you recommend for high-quality heirloom layout tools? Bevel gauge, marking gauge, mortising gauge, chisel, mallet. I know Blue Spruce makes stuff, but any others that I should consider? I'm going to throw 3 at you. Well, maybe 4. So, of course, maybe 5. So, of course, you got Lee Nielsen.
How much time do you have?
How much time you have? How much money do you have? Veritas also has some, and not just the Veritas brand. Veritas often sells other brands in their catalog of really, really nice stuff. Sterling Toolworks is another company, sterlingtoolworks.com. I won't say much about each one of these, but I'll just, you go check them out. BontzSawworks.net, that's BONTZ, sawworks.net. Ron Bontz's stuff is great, and HamiltonTools.com. So those are just a few. Chat room can probably offer quite a few more for like boutique layout tools and things like that.
'Cause I would, even going on Etsy, you could probably find boutique.
I'm sure there's tons of people doing that stuff
Yeah.
now. Like Dima was doing the hammers.
I think he still does the hammers.
I mean, those are fantastic.
Yeah. Question here from Sean Patterson.
Okay.
I'm looking at the MLCS spiral carbide bits, and I don't know the reasons you would use an upcut versus a downcut.
Just buy the upcut.
Could you explain, please?
Can I just tell you to buy the upcut and then we're done? We're done here.
Why would you do an upcut versus a downcut?
Upcut and downcut, let's talk about from the router's perspective because it changes if you're in a router table, right? So if it's in a handheld router, an upcut means the spiral is in such a direction that as you're going through the wood, it's upward. So what you can have is technically, or I should say theoretically, you have tear out going toward the top. So if you want to route a mortise or something like a through mortise and you have the face show side, facing you as you're routing it, you wouldn't necessarily want frayed edges coming at you, right? And the upcut spiral is going to potentially do that. Downcut is the opposite, right? So if you want a really clean edge and you have the show face facing you, as you go across it, the down spiral goes the other way. So you tend to have a much cleaner, well, you tend theoretically to have a cleaner edge because of the directionality of that spiral.
They seem to have more options for the upcut versus the downcut too.
I think upcut's more popular primarily, well, there's two reasons, because I think most of the time you're not doing a show surface, and what upcut does is it pulls chips out of the cut. And that means less friction, an easier path, less heat, so the bit lasts longer.
Gotcha.
If you're doing mortises with them, you're going to want that upcut bit. Very rarely have I ever thought, you know what, I really wish I had a down spiral cut. Because here's the other reason. It's not until the bit gets like super dull that you really start to even see a difference. When I take a new upcut spiral bit and go across a board, make a mortise, whatever it is I'm doing, it's perfectly clean, you know, and if it's not perfect, that light sanding that I'm about to do will take care of it. So that's why I don't just upcut is, I think overall for most woodworkers, you can pretty much disregard down spiral unless you know enough about this that you know you need specifically to do something with the down spiral bit. I say just go up spiral.
Then what's the difference between the flush trim, the spiral flush trim bit?
Same thing.
So
now it's a flush trim bit, but again, you have to decide which direction if you think about it, which direction you want the frayed material to go.
Okay.
And I keep saying theoretical because most of the time these spiral bits cut so clean, there is no frayed material.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Got it?
I got it.
Okay, Jeff Orovitz says, about a year ago, I had to tear down my shop for a 650-mile move. I sold many of my tools because I found it would be easier and cheaper to replace than it would be to transport and then store them for many months. I'm at the point that I can start replacing those tools to rebuild my shop, but I haven't pulled the trigger on any purchases for about a month. Most manufacturers each have multiple versions of each tool. That's a lot of choices, too many in fact, and it's caused me to remain in this weird state of just not buying anything, paralyzed by the thought of making the wrong purchase. Have you ever experienced this buyer paralysis due to overwhelming choices? Any suggestions on how to get past it? And he's got a follow-up that I'll answer afterwards. Well, yes, this happens. So here's an example. I needed a new little workout bench. I work out of my office. It's a whole elaborate thing. There's a bench and a dumbbell. So I do my workouts there, and I just have a simple bench. Well, now I actually want something that does a little, incline and decline, and I started looking on Amazon. And I immediately was like, because what happens is the first one you look at, you go, oh, it sounds great. But then you read the reviews. And you find that one person who's like, this is junk. I can't even believe blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I guess I'm not getting that one. Then you go to the next one. And you start, you go down this rabbit hole. It's a giant pain in the butt. I think the easiest way to deal with this is to, buy from a company that has a good return policy.
Yes.
If possible.
And you got to be careful on Amazon because sometimes those returns, they'll only give you a percentage of the return.
Yeah, you got to look at the return policy.
Totally have to
And
watch
you can't
what
trust
you're doing.
reviews. That's the other problem.
Yeah.
Do you guys know how many times a week I get a question from someone in my private messages on Instagram asking me to review a product for a fee, to pay me to review products? And I quickly block them and report them.
Even Amazon, when you buy something, and I think, what did I get? Oh, I got a Pokemon binder. And in the thing it said, if you review this product on Amazon, a favorable review, we will send you.
They're incentivizing the review. Yeah, that's crazy. But we're talking about power tools here.
Yes.
So when we talk about returns, not exactly something you want to do. I think generally speaking, unless you're buying bottom of the barrel tools, anything you get will work. And avoid the stuff that you just see terrible reviews and everyone just knows this is garbage and you don't want to buy this. Most of the time, if you go with one of the popular brands, it may, maybe one would have been better for you than the other, but the way I look at it, it's like buying a TV. When you're in the store and you look at the 5 TVs on the wall, you can pick out those slight nuances, but take any one of those TVs and put it in your living room and you're going to love it. Right? So it's kind of the same thing with these tools. I think any of them, any brand that's a decent quality, reputable brand, if it has the features you want, you're probably going to be happy with it. So just pull the trigger, get it done. And he wants to know if there's a drastic quality difference between companies like Jet, Grizzly, and Powermatic. Well, it's tough to say. People who buy Powermatic are buying under the impression that it is higher quality than Jet, right? They're the same family of companies.
They're owned under the same umbrella.
Yeah, WMH, WHM, WFM, WFM, WMH.
I'm actually looking it up.
Yeah, so we assume that there may be similarities between their tools, but the Powermatic is the top of the line. So what makes it top of the line? Better quality parts, better components, heavier components, things like that. Now, what I can tell you, speaking 100% honestly, I haven't spent much time with the Jet tools. I've got one Jet tool in the shop, my oscillating spindle sander. It's fantastic. But I haven't actually done side-by-sides to be like, oh yes, the trunnions on a PM2000 are 5 millimeters thicker than on the Jet. I don't know. But that's what we're paying for, supposedly paying for that additional quality. As far as Grizzly goes, what I always hear about Grizzly is it's a real good bang for the buck. But it tends to be hit or miss, right? So I've heard people who just continually get lemons from Grizzly, but then other people who absolutely adore all their Grizzly tools. I think Philip Morley is a good example. I think he's got like 2, maybe 3 Grizzly bandsaws that he's totally happy with. So, I don't want to poo-poo on Grizzly. I think they make pretty good stuff. But you have that higher opportunity for JPW. Well, look, Powermatic is a sponsor.
Yes.
Not the family parent company. I mean, but yeah, know what
I know what you mean.
JPW. That's what I said, right? Everybody.
Yes.
I think I said JPW.
We all heard
Can we all agree on that?
You got a super chat from Lark. I don't know if you see it.
No, I'm looking at my questions.
Okay.
I'll keep scrolling. Do you want to read it?
Yeah. What is the chance you can get Derrell Peart to do his chess table for the guild? Or rip off his design and do it without him? I need it in my life.
I'll show that guy. I don't know. It depends on Derrell. Derrell, when we film with Derrell, it takes a lot out of the guy. So I know he has been pushing to learn how to do more filming himself, so that if we do another project in the future, I don't have to go there. So that's kind of where we're headed, but it really depends on what he wants to do and his comfort level. But that is a beautiful piece.
It is. Christian Ness, I'm looking to get a new sander and a jigsaw. I like Bosch, but I know Festool is supposed to be good, but the price is crazy high.
Yeah.
Do you really get more with Festool?
No. Festool makes...
It's a system with Festool. If you're only buying one Festool, unless it's a Domino,
Yeah.
I think a Bosch is fine.
I think Bosch is fine. I've got a Milwaukee that is pretty great. I will say I have seen demonstrations of things with the Festool jigsaw, just in terms of like reliability, that it's not going to skew on an angle. I've seen some pretty impressive stuff with the Festool jigsaw. That said, I mean, it's a jigsaw, man. Like, we're not cutting dovetails with this thing. So ultimately, if it doesn't really matter if your cut is just maybe a hair off. I mean, Bosch makes probably one of the best jigsaws out there.
Don't forget, he said sander too. So you did your sander video.
Yeah, so I think it depends. When it comes to is Festool worth it, it's on a tool-by-tool basis, and a lot of it depends on you, right? So if you are doing work that requires the absolute cleanest and best jigsaw cuts you can possibly make, and having a tool that's a absolute premium there would be beneficial to you, great. But you know what I do with the jigsaw? I rough cut lumber with it, and then I rough cut curves, and then I finesse them with other tools. I don't depend on it to do precision work. So for me, it doesn't really matter what brand the jigsaw is. So again, depends on the work you're doing. Sanders, I think there could be more value there if you're looking for better dust collection, less vibration. You're going to find that in some of the premium sander brands, the Mirka, Festool ETS line. Are they enough, are they that much better to warrant the price? Again, that depends on you. I can't answer that question for you.
Let's see. You have a question?
Yep.
I got more questions.
Well, speaking of Festool, Ben Price says, if you could get either the 500 or the 700 Domino, which would you get first? Well, I have an article for that.
We do. We have an
Yes.
article.
It's on the WoodWhisperer website. Just go to the search and search for Domino. I think would probably pull it up. I have an
Yeah.
article called DF500 versus Domino XL DF700, which is right for me. So I generally fall on the side that I think for most people, the Domino 500 is what you would want. Unless you are building a lot of large-scale projects, bunk beds, full-size beds, doors, entryway doors. If you're doing large-scale stuff, 700 all the way. Now, the thing to keep in mind is you've got companies like Seneca who will make an adapter. So you can use the 700 to make smaller mortises with the 700. But I had this conversation with John recently. We used the 700 on his daughter's bed, and he had to do all the legs and rails. And we're just talking one project, 4 legs, I think 4 or 5 rails, just depending on what we had there. And he had to do all that plunging with the Domino 700. When he was done, he went like this. Oh man, like his wrists felt it. And that's the problem with the 700. If most of the work you're going to do is on that smaller scale, you do not want to be slinging around a beast like the Domino 700. I think the 500 is a tool that you are going to be absolutely thrilled to pick up every time you use it, and you're not going to have wrist pain as a result. So I honestly think even though the Domino 700 with adapters can kind of do everything, it's not as fun to use, and I think you're going to not enjoy using it as much. Just my opinion. So unless you have work that necessitates this higher, larger scale of work, I would say Domino 500. And I could tell you 99% of the time when I use a Domino in my work, it's the 500.
Dave got some a small lathe for Father's Day.
Ooh.
Speaking, it's going to be Sunday, so happy Father's Day to everybody out there. I have no turning tools. Should
Okay.
I skip the HSS? What's that?
High-speed steel?
And go right for the carbide tools. Which tools first?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not a turner.
I mean,
What would Ashley, WWAD,
what would Ashley
what would
do?
Ashley do?
I mean, we have the easy wood tools, and those are pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you want to learn real turning, right? You want to learn some of the techniques that come with the various different profiles and things like that. Traditional turning tools are the way to go. If you want to use carbide cutters, I assume when he says carbide, he's talking about things like easy wood tools with the carbide inserts, right?
That's what I'm assuming too.
That will get you started faster, right? Because the learning curve is a lot lower with those tools. But I think, based on what I've seen Ashley do with her 40/40 grind and bowl gouges and the amazing things she can do, if you really want to do turning and you really want to get into it for a good long time and you want the best results possible, I wouldn't go to carbide scrapers and carbide cutters. I would stick with, good quality turning tools, learn how to sharpen them, and then learn how to use them. That would be my recommendation.
RB said Ashley would say no to carbide.
And the thing is, I've got carbide on the wall. Why? Because I have no desire to impress anybody with my turning. If I need to turn something, it's a utilitarian reason, and I will get the job done, and I'll be perfectly happy using that carbide.
There you go.
I've watched Ashley turn intensely with the filming that we've done together with 2 projects, and I think I absorbed about 0.5% of what she said.
Good thing we filmed it.
Good thing I filmed it. I can watch it whenever I want to.
Go back to it.
I got 2 more questions, and we're
Okay.
getting toward the end
Yep.
here. Sebastian Marchand said, it looks like Jory is filming some new guild projects. That's awesome. Is he still doing 2 projects as scheduled last year? If so, is it still the Hollister and the Bosley stools? It is just the Hollister. I remember us talking about this in the past, and I don't think I ever said that it was going to be 2 projects,
No.
because that's too hard to do in the time allotted.
He can barely do 2.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do 1 project in that time frame is a huge challenge.
Yeah.
So no, just 1 project. It's the Hollister credenza. It's absolutely gorgeous. And yes, that is now filmed. Todd is, I think he might be on the road now, heading back to Texas. He captured all the footage, did a great job. Sebastian also says, do we have access to a private RSS feed for our podcast app when subscribing on YouTube? What he's talking about is in Patreon, they give you a private RSS feed that people like us can put content into for paying members, right? There is no such feature on YouTube.
No.
So
YouTube
the after
doesn't
show,
have any RSS feeds.
not at all. So the after show that we're going to record after this goes into that members feed on Patreon. So if you wanted to listen to it as an audio podcast right now, that's the only option is on the Patreon side of things, unfortunately.
Sorry.
just not an option
Technology limitation of
for
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah. And last question here, Ben's Woodcrafts. I was wondering why you didn't include Rubio in your stain test. Not a traditional option, but it's been pretty consistent in my experience, so I was wondering your thoughts. I wouldn't use Rubio with a wood conditioner. You know what I just did? I wrote an answer for myself as a note, and I read it as if he wrote that. That is super weird of me to do. That's the answer, though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use Rubio with a wood conditioner.
Yeah.
Like I had said before in someone else's question about Rubio, Rubio wants bare wood. It wants raw wood to bind to. If you put down some kind of a conditioner, you are doing what the manufacturer does not want you to do. So I wouldn't use it with that anyway. Also, it's more of a finish than a stain. You can get colored Rubio, but that's the finish with the stain in it. So, it would be interesting to see what happens, but I would not have tested it because I don't want to encourage people to use Rubio over top of a wood conditioner or a surface that's been conditioned. I just don't think that the product is going to work to the level it's supposed to if you do that. So that's why.
I do have a couple questions that came in after you pulled them. So RB says, I'm building a couple Adirondack chairs and a table with Cyprus for my stepdaughter. Any recommendations on the finish? I've never worked with it before, and this being a housewarming college graduation, landing her first job as a teacher gift. Mm-hmm. I want them to last. So it's Cyprus outside.
Okay, RB, if you haven't seen it, go watch the outdoor, when I 2 or 3 videos ago, I did an outdoor finishes review showing different projects, how they were finished, what products I used, and how they fared.
15 years in the making.
And it depends, it depends on where it's going to be stored, how much exposure it's going to have for sun and water. That will help you make a decision. But generally speaking, these days, I'm going for penetrating oils and pigmented oils as opposed to film finishes. I just find that they hold up better in the long run, and I don't like flaking finishes.
Flaky.
I did have one more from Alfred Chu.
Oh, okay. Alfred.
For a simple monitor stand with miter joints, what's the best way to secure the legs to the middle piece so that the legs don't splay out from the weight of the monitor, presuming that the legs are already glued to the middle piece? Thanks. Okay, so we're talking something shaped like this with miters at the corners. Well, how heavy is your monitor? Monitors are pretty light these days, and unless you've got a beast of a monitor, and let's say you have 3/4 inch stock, I'm not sure how much of how much are you actually going to see in terms of the legs kind of splaying out. So I don't know that I would worry about it, but maybe you know more about this. Well, not maybe. Clearly, you know more about the situation than I do. So you're looking for reinforcement. Once it's already together, there's not a whole lot you can do other than add some kind of bracing. So you can cut triangular blocks, and even, maybe you don't want to see it all the way at the front, so you just put it at the back. A block on each side, that could go a long way to helping those not have a tendency to move out if that truly is a problem. Mm-hmm. And that's all my questions, Nicole.
I got a question here from Kim Erickson. Good morning. I've heard a lot about the advantages of extra width with a jointer. Does it go same for the length? I'm looking at an 8-inch jointer that ranges in length of 1100 millimeters to 1989 millimeters. I'm guessing that's millimeters.
Yep.
So longer, do you worry about longer?
Yes. I just needed to make sure I totally understood the question.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, longer means that you could do longer boards. If you're trying to joint an 8-foot board and all you have is, a tiny benchtop jointer, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's very difficult. Very difficult. So the longer the beds are, the easier everything becomes. Width and length. I think for most people, though, the width is probably going to be more of a factor than the length, but I still think the length is a very important aspect.
Scott Morris.
Please don't take any of this out of context.
Scott Morris said, I see True Oil on your Amazon store. I was wondering what you have used it on project-wise. True Oil.
I don't think we've ever used it. I think maybe
what did we were talking
True
about?
Oil might, if it's in our store, if he's not mistaken, talking about tried and true oil.
Oh, it was tried and true.
But there are times where True Oil has come up on the show.
Yeah, I think because we talked about tried and true. I think that's what he's.
Well, that's the thing.
about.
I just want to make sure because we probably have talked about True Oil, but I don't know that we would have added True Oil to the store
Yeah.
because I don't personally have experience with it.
Yeah.
Tried and True Oil is a different product. Now, what was his question?
The question was, what have you used it on, project-wise?
I used it on my workbench at one point. I've used it on food items because it's food safe. So my pizza hoochie, the pizza flipper,
Hoochie.
the pizza, you know what I'm talking
Pizza
about?
peel.
Pizza peel. I used it on that. I will use it on cutting boards. Speaking of Ashley, she
Yep.
turned a beautiful pear bowl for me. That's my popcorn bowl. Ooh, I need popcorn tonight.
Oh, we should make popcorn tonight.
So whenever I treat that, I use Tried and True Oil for that as well. And you know, if you just want an all natural, oh, actually, my desk, I put some wax in there with it, and finished my executive desk with that. Very natural product.
Oh, he said
you know,
no.
very safe.
Birchwood Casey True Oil.
That's what I see. That's the thing. So
I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't even know.
It probably came up.
That's the we do put. I guess sometimes if something becomes a topic of conversation, we put it in the store so that people can find it, right?
Yeah.
But I don't have any experience with True Oil at all. So
I'll have to look to
I
see
wish
where.
I would have heard that before I went on a
Tried and True.
whole thing about
rant.
Tried and True that he didn't ask about.
I'll have to look to see where it's at. It probably is under TWW Live because I try to keep categories. So
Isn't that something that a lot of people are using on gun stocks? So typically for True Oil.
I don't know.
Again, I'm sorry, man. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I have to look to see where it is.
Probably no movie with the popcorn tonight. Although we got to start watching Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth, and then the new Disney movie came out with the kids. I can't remember the name.
Well, we're
of
not
it.
going to do that.
Yeah,
after
we're not going
this.
to do that, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
we're going to wrap it up, huh?
Yep, we're going to wrap this up. I'm sorry if we didn't get to your question, but we try to keep this show under 50 minutes.
Yeah. I'll answer this real quick. John Sexton, how would you clean high-use items such as a kitchen table or chairs finished with Osmo and Rubio? I'm thinking harsh cleaners would remove the finish. They might, but unless you have a reason to use something other than a damp cloth, don't. We clean ours with a damp cloth, and that's it. Both companies, I think, have like rejuvenating type products that you can use. I think there's a liquid wax cleaner on the Osmo line, and I think Rubio has something comparable. So you might use something like that if you're really concerned about it or you need something more powerful than water. But just try to get the spills and everything as soon as they happen, and all you need is a damp rag or damp microfiber cloth. Okay.
Scott said that tried and true information was still good info.
Well, there you go. I'm glad
So
someone
for
liked it.
any of you that are Patreon supporters and want to come hang out with us in the after show, I will put the link to that post that has the link. If you're a YouTube member, you can just go to the YouTube channel and under the community tab, there is a post that gives you the link to that show. YouTube doesn't necessarily seamlessly show you that. It has to be underneath that community tab. So.
Oh, and I should mention, if you guys haven't already seen it, we did release a video today.
We did. You did. I didn't do that.
I released a video today featuring me and John.
Yeah.
John's speaking debut on the show. He's been silent this whole time. Just looking at mystery tools. We thought it would be a fun little video.
Cleaning out the drawers.
He's looking at my drawers. He's like, "What's this?" I was like, "It's funny that you don't know that. Let's film it." So, good stuff. But if you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. I appreciate
That's
it.
awesome.
All right.
All right.
So yeah, George is right. It is time to pinch it off. Okay.
Pinch
so
it off.
you guys have a fantastic weekend. I hope you have a good one. And I guess that's it. So we'll see some of you in the after show. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Have a great week. Stay safe. Spay and neuter your pets.
This is not a
Bob Barker.
Bob Barker.
Price is right. Okay. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Bye.